It's Parenting Porcupines, episode 6 of season 4. Tonight we're talking about the Sisterhood of Motherhood because it's March, which is Women's History Month. It's still March. We've got 2 more days left this week, and next week we'll have another one focused on our momminess and our womanness and all of that cool stuff. So let's do it. The Libertarian Moms are on TV. Hi, gals.
Good evening.
This is a glass of water. This is water. I've been drinking water. There's not like actual drinking happening at my house today. So this will go by fast. Because I'll be like, I'm ready for a cocktail. Day 45. Okay. Tonight is episode 6, the Sisterhood of Motherhood. Jess, you built this subject out for us, and you started off our show notes out on parentingporcupines.com with a Turkish quote. Share that with our audience and lead us into this.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes. This is one of my favorite quotes, and it's credited as a Turkish proverb. I don't know that that's true, but I think it is because it's most commonly
on the internet. Because it's on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, who really knows? True. But it's no road is long with good company. And that resonates with me in a lot of ways, but specifically as a mom. And I know, Casey, you hate it when people talk about how hard it is to be a mom. So I tried not to live in that for too long. But I think we can all agree that there are certain challenges as moms that we face that are difficult, right? And we need support. We need to have that good company so that long road of parenting doesn't seem quite as long. And so I just love that quote for this.
Let's put it in the context though, because because you're right. I hate when people talk about how hard it is to be a mom. But I mostly get mad when people talk about being a stay-at-home mom, if taking care of their children is their primary occupation. That's where I get frustrated, because I think like there's a lot of women out there. All 3 of us are employed, right? Mm-hmm. Caring for our parents, elderly parents, our sandwich generation, right? And then have a spouse or a partner that we have to care for as well. Like there are multiple roles here. So to put like, I'm a mom first and foremost, and the mom role is really hard. So I can't do these other things. I can't be wife. I can't be employee. I can't be sister. I can't be daughter. I can't be friend because I'm over here so busy being a mom. That's the shit that makes me roll my eyes. Because I'm like, come on, get it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're all these other things too, right? Like do them all.
It doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially if you have a good village, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, right? So the first thing that we were going to talk about was how we support one another. And I think that when I think about support, I think about having a direct support and indirect support in how...
Oh my God. That was so classic. That was awesome. That was so. I mean, we could see him coming, but man, the look on Melissa's face. That was fantastic. Sorry,
Melissa needs a lot of support tonight, guys. Melissa needs support tonight.
I got you, Melissa. Oh my gosh. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. 100%
Oh no.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, Jessica, you were saying.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So I think there's direct support and indirect support, right? Like that's how I kind of think about it, because not all support is the same in terms of what it looks like, the purpose it serves, and the way that it benefits the moms, for us, each other, but also how it impacts our kids. Because I think every bit of support that we give to each other will impact our children, whether it's directly impacting our children or indirectly. So I think we're going to talk about kind of how it impacts us individually as moms, and then how it impacts our children as well. So the first question that I wanted to ask was, what what do we think about when we think about supporting one another? Like, what does that mean to you, Casey? What does that mean when you think about a mom supporting another mom? What does that look like to you?
So to me, the first place I go is to understanding, right? So I think about before I had kids and watching women struggle with their children and not having like really any empathy or understanding of what they were going through. And then after having a kid, like totally, mom, I am with you. High five, fist bump. You're doing the best you can. It's going to be fine. Right. And me being like, instead of judgy woman and in the checkout line, instead being the woman that's like, how can I help? What can I do to sort of help you out through this tough moment that you're having? And sometimes it's just eye contact and a smile and like just being like, I get it, girl. Like you just hang in there. They won't always be toddlers.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
So to me, some
I
of
have
it is
literally,
just no, go ahead.
I
No, go ahead.
literally in checkout lines. It's usually in checkout lines at the grocery store, in the aisles at the grocery store. You can tell when mom's about to lose it because you know that look on their face. You've had that look on your face. And I will be like, hey, kid, look at this. And just talk to someone new will completely like blow the kid's mind and distract them from the fact that they want that candy that they were just screaming about, or they were hitting their sister. And now there's some new person talking to them. I'm absolutely about just be like, hey, kid, look at me, something new.
Yeah.
And it helps. It does. And I appreciate it when people do it to my kids, like, hey, distract you from the thing you're freaking out about.
Right. That's right.
Well, and
yeah,
I think that comes from, I think it comes from having that shared experience, that lived experience, right? Because before you're a parent, you don't know. Yeah, because before you're a parent, you don't know. And I mean, it's like before I had kids, I would see that mom in the grocery store losing her shit on her children, and I would be like, "Oh my gosh," But now it's like,
why does she do that? Yeah,
I get it, because she has probably been so tolerant all day, and it's 3:00 in the afternoon, and she has just had enough. It's enough, and she's losing it.
17th time her child has ignored her.
Yes, and she's just it's all she can do to keep it together. And I think recognizing that is definitely an important part of providing that support, right?
Yeah, I think the empathy is a big piece of it. And then sometimes I think about too, what can we do that will take the extra from that mom, right? So like when you think of like a mom's got a sick kid, sick parent, something is happening, the house is on fire, like whatever it is that they have where they've been given extra. And then it's like, okay, well, how can I come in and take the extra? And I think, Jess, you were saying one of your friends came and took the boys after your grandfather passed, and your and the friend that did that for you, like without even just like, I'm just going to take these children out of your house, right? Like, so that you can just do what you need to do. And sometimes it's just knowing like that you can be that resource. You can people can offload the extra to you.
Yeah. So, in your experience, Casey, how have you been supported by other moms in your circles?
So I have a best friend that's out in Arizona, and her daughter's about 10 years older than mine. And there's a constant, I just ping Jessica either by text message or I give her a call, and I'll just go, this is what's happening right now. And her response will be, it's normal. And it's everything from like lying about not doing her homework in second grade to like she lost something and she's telling me that it was stolen, like like little things like that. I'm like, why? But why is she lying? Jessica's like, it's normal, she'll get over it, she'll get past it, right? But these stages too, as each stage comes and goes, and her daughter is so kind of already through them, and so she's able to kind of look back and go, it'll be fine. So that's probably the biggest support I've gotten. I think I have a friend who's done this before, and so she's the one that I hit. What's interesting is I have this other friend whose children are much younger than mine, and she's pinging me with that. Like she just sent me a picture of her kid cut his hair, and I go, well, shave it off. And she goes, what? And I go, you shave
hair,
his
it
head
grows
now.
back.
That's what you do. And she goes, what do you mean? I go, they get to an age where they won't take care of their own hair. And when they don't, you shave it off. And she goes, you didn't shave Holly's hair. I go, I cut Holly's hair short. Like it was really long. It was down to about the middle of her back, and she couldn't keep it combed. She couldn't keep it tangle free. And I chopped
Out
it
of
off.
her mouth.
And she, you're right. And she goes, she's like, well, okay. I go, you have every right. You take that kid right to the haircut. Don't wait. Don't give it 2 days. Don't give it 3 days. He has cut his own hair. He cannot be trusted. Take him to the place and shave it off. And she was like, okay.
Well, I think that's interesting because sometimes when we're in these moments with our kids, it seems like it's never going to end, right? Like you get into these phases and these things that just feel like it's never going to end. And you don't want it to end, right? Because that means they're going to grow up and they're going to leave and all those things that kind of make us a little bit sad sometimes. But the frustrating things, it's like, it just seems like it's so hard and it seems like it's so long. And I think having somebody to reassure you that like this too shall pass, somebody who has experienced that, they can say, this is not going to be forever, and I think that helps, right? Like, I know it does for me when I have friends who say the same thing. Melissa, what about you? Have you had any moms in your inner circles who have helped you, supported you?
The most glaring example of this is when my oldest was born. Things they don't tell you when you're pregnant and about to have your first child.
There are so many things.
Oh my God. I thought I was insane because if I don't watch him while he sleeps, he will die. It's a thing. Like I have to look at him. And I thought I was insane. I thought I had lost my mind. Yeah. And my friend with older children, her oldest was a toddler. She's like, oh no, that's completely normal. I'm like, okay, they should tell people this because I think I've lost my mind. So yeah, they should tell people that before your first child. They should warn you. That no one warns you of this stuff.
There's so many things like that though, right? Like, so I held Holly all the time. I never put that baby down. I walked around with her. She was on my chest when I was sitting. She was in my lap all the time. And my mother-in-law at one point said something about it, like, well, if she'll ever put that baby down. And I was like, why would I? Eventually, she's not going to want to come anywhere near me. That's my life right now, right? It's like she doesn't want to be anywhere near me. So 13 years ago when I wouldn't put the baby down, it's because I knew that 13 years from then.
My sister-in-law is the same way. She had it's her second child, but it's my brother's first. She has a daughter from a previous marriage, but my niece is the same way. I mean, she holds her all the time, and when people make remarks about it, she's like, well, it's my baby. I'll do what I want. And I love it.
Exactly how I was.
I love it. I love
exactly
it.
That way, yeah. I was unashamed of that.
Yeah. And I mean, you shouldn't be. And nobody should make you feel like you should be ashamed. So
because I was the opposite way. And I would get the same comments, but on the other side, like, oh, you don't want to hold your baby all the time. I'm like, fuck no. This thing cries.
He shits on me.
Shits everywhere. Come over and hold my baby.
He pukes everywhere.
Yeah. You take it. Let me go take a nap. Like I was the complete opposite. Like if someone was like, I want to hold your baby here, I'm going to throw them at you and leave.
But you know what I think is like probably why
so either way.
I don't want to hold other people's babies. Like I still don't have any interest in other people's babies. And I never did before that, right? Like it was just Holly, just my baby that I wanted to hold all the time. Like even now, people would be like, oh, you want to hold the baby? I'm like, why would I? I have a teenager. I'm good.
I had my turn. Thank you.
Yeah. Those damn things are contagious. I don't need that.
Oh gosh.
No, friend, no.
See, I want all the babies. Give me all the babies. I want to hold them all.
No,
See.
I don't.
Yeah, it's
no
just,
more babies.
but that's either way.
Well,
You
let me
do
ask
you,
you this
boo.
though, because we are talking about the sisterhood of motherhood. Do you have, to me, like there's a spectrum of some women for whom motherhood is they have a sense that it's their calling, right? That this is their divine purpose on the planet. And then for other women on the other end of the spectrum, like that is, they have zero interest in that, right? And I probably fall somewhere in between. Somewhere certainly in between, closer to the like no thanks than I am to the like this is my calling thing. But I'm a little bit interested in this sisterhood question in terms of the judginess that women kind of lay at one another's feet in terms of how much of a mother are you, how much of a this are you, how are you, and like I'm surprised by that. And I was kind of curious when we were putting our show notes together. It didn't even occur to me to think about this, but do you think there's backlash to the sisterhood of motherhood? Like, do you think there are people that either take it too seriously or don't take it seriously enough? Do you think that there's a cutthroatness in there?
I've been a stay-at-home mom. I've been a working mom. They're both fucking hard. Mom is hard. No matter how you do it, it's hard. It's emotionally exhausting. And doing your best is enough. No matter if you have to work, if you choose to work, if you don't want to work, breastfed, bottle fed, your child is happy. That's all that matters. You're doing your best and providing for your child. People need to stop being so judgy.
They do need to stop. But that's an interesting question because I do think that it has happened a lot more in recent years. Like it's become more normal for women, for mothers to judge one another. And I don't understand where that comes from. I don't. And I think that it puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on others.
And it's already a hard job. Why make it harder?
I mean, why not, help instead of hurt? I've never understood that, but I do. I mean, I see it all the time. And obviously I don't keep company with people who behave in such a manner because we all know
time for that.
Yeah, because y'all know I can't
we got no time for that.
I can't control what comes out of my mouth sometimes. But
no time for that.
Definitely don't. So how do we, like when we talk about the support that we give each other and we talk about how it impacts our children, because it does impact our children, right? That's part of why it's important that we have a village, a momtourage, so to speak. But, how do we think that impacts our children indirectly, and how do we think it impacts our children directly? So let's start with indirect support of our children through the sisterhood, right? So Casey, how do you think these relationships indirectly support our children?
So I think this demonstrates for Holly what it looks like to have a support network. And it shows her how important it is to cultivate that support network and to protect that network. My grandmother had a huge group of friends, huge. She had a bridge club that she was a member of. She had this birthday club that she was a member of, 12 women with everyone had a birthday in a different month. And they would go to birthday lunch once a month, right? She had her church that she did work with. She had the outreach that she did. She just had this huge network of people that were always there to support and respond when she needed help. And she taught me what that looks like, right? And so when you're looking for what does it look like to really have people you can depend on, and what does it look like to serve those people in return, right? How do you show reciprocal friendship? If you're not demonstrating reciprocal friendship and if you're not demonstrating support, how can I expect support if I'm not giving support? So I think indirectly it demonstrates for our children how to build that kind of network. And when we're participating in it and when we prioritize it, letting them know. I said today that I canceled lunch with a girlfriend of mine that I haven't seen since the fall so that Holly and I could spend time together instead. And my hairdresser said, oh, it's so nice that you still spend time with your friends. Like, well, I'm only 45. I will spend time with my friends until I die. Like, why wouldn't I spend time with my friends?
Why wouldn't I spend time with my friends?
But I thought, is it interesting that some people believe that like at some point you check out, like you stop being with your friend? Like, I don't really know where that came from. But I was just I was kind of stunned by it because I was like, of course I do. My grandmother made it very clear to me that I have to have these people. You need people outside of your family network to remind you that you're not the sum of this momness, right? Momness
Absolutely.
is not the only thing you are. You are somebody as an individual, as a human, other than the mom, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I agree with that 100%. And I think that's something that I always tell people. Like if they ask me, why do you go to concerts? Why do you travel? How do you do this without your kids? I'm like, well, it's really easy. I pack a suitcase and get on a plane. Like it's not that hard. But because one day they're not going to be here anymore. They're not going to be in my house, and I still have to be me, and I have to know who that person is in order to be that person. And so I've never thought it was selfish to give back a little bit to myself every now and then. It's not like every weekend I'm out, painting the town red or anything like that. But, if I want to go on a trip with my girlfriends for the weekend once a year, absolutely, and nobody should feel bad about that. Nobody should make anybody else feel bad about that. And I think those relationships are important. I know for me, those relationships are important for my mental health because I've talked about it very openly. I suffer from crippling anxiety. I struggle with depression. And those relationships, having that support and having those people that I can open up to, it helps me deal with some of that, right? Deal with some of that anxiety, process some of those emotions because they can be the wall I can bounce things off of. Yeah. But also something that I thought about, as we were talking is the thing I love about my group of friends is that they're very diverse. No two of my friends have the same interests. I have a lot of different friends. My circle is actually very small. I don't trust a lot of people. But all of my friends are vastly different. And I love that they each have different qualities that I admire and respect very deeply, because those are things that challenge me and things that encourage me at the same time. And so I think that helps me to be a better mom because it challenges me to be the person that I really want to be, right? That I can be. And I don't know. I think that's important. I think it's important to have those relationships. And I think that's an indirect benefit to our children because it makes us happier. It makes us healthier. Melissa, what do you think about indirect support?
I wasn't ready for the question. I like it. I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of support have you received from other moms that you think has indirectly benefited your children?
Well, my indirect support is things like Facebook groups. I'm a member of like free range parenting, unschooling, things like that help me look at what my kids do in a different light. Because I'm a little type A. I'm a type A eldest daughter of a type A eldest daughter of a type A eldest daughter. I'm a little tightly wound. So
just a little.
Getting other people's viewpoints that come from completely different backgrounds helps me relax and realize I'm not failing, which I know I'm not failing, but my feelings and my brain are two different things. So, yes.
Well, because I think you make a really good point about I'm not failing, and Jessica saying I'm a better mom, right? Like I'm not only am I not failing, I'm better because these other people are influencing me, because they're helping me to be mentally healthier than I would be if I were just trying to go this all by myself, or trying to do this in some kind of vacuum.
Yeah. So the other side of that coin is the direct support piece of it. And so when I think about direct support, I think about family. I think about friends, church family. I think about coaches. I think because, Jackson has played baseball and he recently played football for school. So coaches have been, a tremendous part of his life and, being part of that village for him. Family is really important for me because I have a very large family, but we're very close. I've talked about that, in prior episodes. And so I think that that constant presence and that consistent role in the children's lives, not only to be part of their lives, but to also reinforce the parenting. Because if you have people who are, like-minded, they kind of help you raise your children. And we have we have some friends that we met through church, but our kids have grown up together in school. They've grown up together in church, and we've become very close friends. We travel together. We, do things on the weekends together. If you see one of us, you probably are going to see all of us. We're usually together on the weekends if I'm not doing LP stuff. But we have very similar parenting styles, not exactly the same. But the ways that we are very similar are very fundamental, and the ways that we're very different, even though they're vastly different from one another, they complement one another. And so it's just really harmonious because it reinforces all the important stuff, those important concepts, but allows for the children to have, some flexibility, I guess, I don't know exactly how to say what I'm thinking, but that's what I think of when I think of that, direct support, having that village that's actively part of my children's lives.
I remember
No, go ahead, Melissa. What were you going to say?
I remember growing up, we went to my sister and I went to my grandmother's house. We went to my aunt's house, my other aunt's house, all the time. And it was very nice, complimenting. I could talk to my parents, but if I couldn't talk to my parents, I could talk to my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk to my aunt. And I have the same structure with my kids. If they can't talk to me about something, they have other adults that I trust, that they also trust, that they can talk to about hard topics.
Yeah.
And I know that they're getting advice that I would agree with. It's not a completely different way of looking at the universe.
Yeah.
It's someone I trust that they also trust, that will help me instill these values in my children. So I liked having that as a child, and I'm glad my children have the same, like, deep bench. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it, though. No, but it's a great way to put it. Who's on the bench, right? Who are the people that you can call in, you can put in the game when maybe I'm not getting through to her. So we have a counselor that Holly sees, that she's been seeing for a while, that is, and this is her second counselor. So the first one, we brought her in at like kind of a moment of crisis. And after we got over the crisis, like, okay, now that was her specialty. And so now we're moving to somebody else that's a little bit more like it's somewhere Holly can go that's not dad and me, right? That's not a peer, that's not in the same place as her, but that she understands.
You don't want them giving advice.
Yeah. So, but she understands. And so she's got this trusted place that she can go and have these conversations and bring her worries forward and talk through some of the things that are causing her trouble. And then also find a way to frame those things, or create vocabulary around them so she can explain them to me and explain them to her dad. So those are that's been really useful for us. And so you mentioned the coaches, right? We had Holly didn't connect really with her swim coaches the way I'd kind of hoped that she would. And so it's nice to have this counselor that she's able to see that does that for her. And I think in some cases that trusted resource, somebody that whose opinion you trust, who you think is going to do the right thing and say the right thing, and be a safe place for your kid to go and try some of these things on, and ask questions that maybe are provocative questions that they don't feel comfortable bringing forward to you, and that sort of thing. So
yeah, I agree with that 100%. So when we talk about this idea of a village, because in addition to no road being long with good company, it also takes a village to raise a child, right? And I believe that. Like, I've always heard that, and I 100% agree with that. So when we talk about these villages, when we talk about these networks, these circles that we have, how do you choose the people that are part of that group? How do you build your village, and how do you maintain it? What do you invest in terms of time, energy? How do you make sure that village stays the village that you need it to be for your children? Casey, go.
Yeah, so we built ours in the neighborhood on Friday afternoons with our happy hour on the driveway, and started inviting our neighbors to come over and just come over for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just get to know us a little bit better. And we had good discussion out there. It was interesting during COVID, right? Everybody's home. We had these neighborhood block parties, and we're kind of joking around because all these other neighborhoods were saying, well, and now we're hanging out on the driveway and we're drinking in our cul-de-sac. And we're all like, we invented that in 2012.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for a decade. But a big part of that was just Holly is an only child. So to play outside, I had to be outside with her. She couldn't just be outside by herself. There was nobody to, run inside and tell me she'd fallen and was bleeding. So I needed to be the one that was out there watching her. Well, so then other people would see me sitting out there watching Holly. So they felt like it was okay to send their kids over to play too. So then there would be days that I was the only adult out there with all the kids in the yard. And I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, I had my book and whatever, but ultimately it became the parents are coming over too, and we all have our Friday happy hours. And like, that's kind of where we built our village, was getting to know one another over a couple of beers on a Friday afternoon on the driveway, just trying to figure out, like, what does your weekend look like? And then who needs a ride to whatever is happening this weekend, and who's going to whatever carnival at the elementary school, and like that kind of thing. And this group, we have people that go to different schools, that are in different churches, and everybody kind of has a different source of information. And so when we sit down and go, okay, I got to find a summer camp, where should I send my kid? And there's, well, did you think about this? And did you think about that? And there's all these different people there that have, their different, their own networks that are sort of adjacent to ours, and they can bring all that, collective brain power forward to help us solve some of these challenges. It's nothing deep, you know what I mean? Like, we're not in there sharing emotional scars from childhood. It's just general camaraderie and a sense that Holly's safe. If we're not here, she's safe, because our neighbors know who she is. And also, she's not going to misbehave when we're gone, because they know who she is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so they can also hold her responsible too, if they see her in situations that maybe aren't the right choices that she's making. And so we were very intentional about that. We were early on. We were very intentional about that.
Melissa, what about you? How do you build and invest in your village?
No, I'm thinking we need to have some happy hours on my driveway this summer.
Block party at Melissa's.
Yeah.
Just one strategy. It's just one strategy.
I live in a cul-de-sac. We got to have them over for drinks. I know the people across the street, and I know the people next door, because they have kids the same age as my kids. Everyone else, I don't know them because they don't have kids. But yeah, I don't know.
You just sit out there and wave them over. But we're, the other part of it too, though, Jess, the other question is we include Holly. We bring her to a lot of the things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So I take her to the LP meetings on Saturdays, and because she wants to eat at Beef O'Brady's, quite frankly. But
because she loves
knows,
sitting next to me.
Well, but she
loves our
just,
faces.
I am just
so then
the
these
best.
people walk in and we go to Beef O'Brady's. She knows the whole staff at our bar that we go to, right? She knows everybody there. And we go in and she looks them in the eye and she greets them and she has this conversation with them. So she feels comfortable around them. And part of that's because we include her. We bring her with us when we go places.
Yeah. I think our village that we've built, it is pretty diverse because, like I said, we've had coaches, we've got church family, we've got our family, we've got our friends. But one of the things that I try to do to kind of invest is connect my dots. And so, like, I've got 2 mom friends. One is Caldwell's best friend's mom, and then, the mom that is my best friend that we travel with. And we all join the same gym. So we have workout dates a few days a week. And so we go work out together, but connecting those dots so that it's not just my friend Misty or my friend Jillian, it's my friends Misty and Jillian. And we have this kind of group and our kids are the same ages. And so it just kind of strengthens that village, I think, to have those things connected. And then going to church and because Misty and her husband go to our church. Jillian and her husband are starting to come to our church. And so, just kind of welcoming everybody and kind of bringing them in and kind of building that foundation, I think, gives our kids a little bit stronger foundation, right?
And you ask about how do you build it, though. I think the word investment is exactly right, because you have to be willing to do the things. You have to go to church, right? You have to stay and do the after church things. You have to volunteer and be part of these things. You have to join these groups and put yourself in service into these community groups to be, you're putting your tongue out like you run the LP, right? Like, I mean, but you have to give up. And sometimes that means giving up the time you'd rather spend sitting on the couch, binge watching Game of Thrones or whatever, right? Like, I get it that people get into their lives, into their screens, and they get into their digital space or whatever. Like, I get that, but you have to go out in the world and make those physical connections with people, because that's the investment. It's that, and it doesn't take a lot of money, but it does take time, and you have to be willing to get your ass off the couch and go and participate in these things. Otherwise, that network does not build itself.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
The face was, I'm running, my girls do American Heritage Troop, American Heritage Girls, which is like Girl Scouts, but religious based. On Saturday, I am running the entire thing. It's EMS Appreciation Day. I've got 1,010,000 things to do. Charleston County EMS is coming. The fire station is coming. They're doing presentations. There's grab bags. That was the face. I didn't mean to make a face. I'm just.
You've got so many things to do. Well, but you volunteer. Saturday, right? Like, you sign up.
Yeah,
you step forward.
My girls want to do it, and if they want to do it, the adults have to take a leadership position. So I did. I didn't want to.
It's not just you don't just drop them off and come back and pick them up. You've got to be engaged. Yeah, you got to be engaged. Yeah. I agree with that.
Which is the perfect segue into the very end, because we cannot let the episode go by without tying this back to libertarianism, right? Because that's what we're here to do, is teach all of you lovely people about liberty. So that's a great segue into how does this support the idea of a free society, a truly free society? How does this support the message of liberty? Casey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so 2 things. I think the voluntarism, we just talked about that. People will step forward to do the work that needs to be done, that needs to organize. I think there's a market for that. If you can't get people to step forward and do it, it's because it either doesn't need to be done, right? Like, it's not urgent or relevant, right? But I think voluntarism, and you can trust people to volunteer to come forward as long as you make the conditions such that they're able to, right? So we're not subsidizing it with government money. We're not taking all of their hours out of their week for 40-hour work weeks. Like there's 1,000 different ways you can help people become better at voluntarism. And then the other part of it, I think, is free association. And this sense that the people that we agree to be part of, the people that we agree to surround ourselves with, that we agree to connect with, that's our right to associate with those people. And if they are not our people, if this is not our tribe, it's also our right to walk away and not feel like we have to be engaged in something. You don't have to go and support the government-run school in your neighborhood simply because that's the government-run school in your neighborhood. You can be part of your own, educational collective with your children. So
when Hillary Clinton writes a book called "It Takes a Village," that's not what she means.
That's true. She means we should all be taxed.
The government should raise your children. That's not yeah.
Well, I think the other thing that stands out to me too is accountability. And that's something we talk a lot about, right? Because if we are working together, if we're, investing in these villages for our children, we are raising the next generation to be accountable to people outside of their home, right? We're teaching them to be accountable to their community. And I think that's really important because you can't have liberty without accountability, right? People have to be accountable. They have to understand how to be accountable. And I think that's, that lays that foundation for them very early.
How to be good citizens.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah,
how to support one another and how to accept when you're, when you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So any final thoughts, ladies, on the sisterhood?
I enjoyed it. Of motherhood.
The sisterhood.
The non-judgy, voluntary, everybody understands each other and we're all doing the best we possibly can. Sisterhood of motherhood.
Be good to each other. Just be good to each other.
That's exactly. Good night, ladies. I'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.